Hey guys, some of the most emotional, personal, and visceral movies are about drugs. As someone who really enjoys watching these kind of movies, I'd like to share my top 10. But what qualifies as a drug movie? To me, it has to be centrally about the drug, its users, and if possible, make you feel its effects. So as much as I love Traffic, Scarface, and Goodfellas, they're more about the drug business and aren't making the list. Nor am I putting films that are simply fun to watch high. These have to feel like, well, drug movies. You know what I'm saying? You get it. Real quick, here's some honorable mentions. Candy has a heartbreaking hospital scene. Blow, while centered on business, also showcases the cultural and behavioral shift from weed to cocaine. Gridlock'd focuses on the bureaucratic maze that hampers recovery. Enter the Void I found overlong, but it contains my all-time favorite getting high sequence and opening credits. I also want to toss a shout out to Less Than Zero, not because it's good, cause it ain't, but for Robert Downey Jr.'s stalwart performance as an addict too stubborn to admit he needs help. Now it's time for the top 10. Let's do this. Starting off is Half Nelson from 2006. Something that's important to me in a good drug film is the physicality of the actors. They have to look and act like they're using, and what stitches this rather disorganized film together is Ryan Gosling's performance. He does a great job getting across how exhausted this character is. Anthony Mackie is brilliant, playing the drug dealer character so charismatically he's almost seductive, and Sharika Epps' steadiness acts as the moral center of the piece. There's plenty of films about white teachers in the inner city, but Half Nelson offers a fresher look, focusing not just on the character balancing his addictions and teaching position, but his ability to act as a role model. The film also does a good job displaying the kind of isolation addiction brings, how his family, colleagues, and reformed addicts can't empathize with him. Broken Social Scene delivers an evocative soundtrack, and while the ending rings hollow, the climax is definitely worth it. Okay, there's a lot wrong with my number 9 pick. From the slapdash tone, to the unnecessary side characters, to an absolute garbage heap of a monologue. Yet, more than any movie on this list, I personally felt the effect of the drug, even though I've never used it. That drug is meth, and the movie is Spun. I was so wired and clammy and paranoid after the credits rolled, I had to take a shower. And even then, I was jumpy for the rest of the day. On the surface, the movie has a simplistic plot with a gross aesthetic, but the manic editing and performances create something so frenetic it almost feels otherworldly. And the scene where the two tweaked characters talk over each other is so disturbing to me. It's a film with some balls and a total lack of restraint. And that is why it works. It didn't feel right making this list without the stoner comedy, although I'll admit it's not my favorite genre. I think the best movies to watch stoned are ones that have nothing to do with weed, and I don't find Half-Baked or Pineapple Express that funny. Sorry. However, I did enjoy Smiley Face. Props to YMS for introducing me to this movie. Not only is this a funny story, following a permanently high character making a hot mess of her day, but the film does a good job getting me to understand this character and how her absurd decisions make sense in her mind. In fact, Smiley Face serves as a pure, concentrated display of stoner logic. Anna Faris's wide-eyed wonderment is perfect for this role, and the cheap 70s backlot presentation lends a strange charm to the story. So silly, so stupid, so stoned. Number 7 is 1962's Days of Wine and Roses. My mother actually recommended I watch this, and in doing so, she had 2 words of advice. Brace yourself. And I did, and for a while I felt I had a good handle on the film. A story of a drunk who starts dating a sober and rather naive woman at his job. He gets her to start drinking, and the plot skips through the various stages of their deteriorating relationship. Drunk acting is some of the most embarrassing acting on film. Very few get it right. But I found both Jack Lemmon and Lee Remick believable, not going over the top and even appearing drunk while they listened. Okay, I thought, this is a good movie. It's getting darker, I appreciate how long these scenes are, which keeps the mood intimate, but I'm not sure why I had to brace myself. Then the greenhouse happened, and I broke down. I don't recommend watching this clip online, you really need to see the build to it, but what a raw, heart-wrenching collapse it was. The rest of the film, as if emboldened, went in directions I did not expect, and I appreciate how the drama was resolved. A classic film of addiction and loss, Days of Wine and Roses will grab your heart and squeeze. So, yeah, thanks, Mom. Thanks a lot. Number 6 is Terry Gilliam's Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. Some of you may get irked at how low this is on the list, and I understand that. The fact is, despite how great the book is, it's one of my favorites in fact, the loose narrative and lack of climax don't lend themselves well to film. This movie is a mess, but what an enjoyable mess it is. Johnny Depp completely hams up his performance, and it meshes perfectly with Gilliam's trademark whimsical style. The narration really holds the stitches of this movie together. I like which parts of the book they included, although I didn't care for how they tackled the iconic adrenochrome scene. I love some of the set design. They managed to make a bathroom stick in my brain more than anything else. There's a soft spot in my heart for films that feel alive, that exist in their own world whether you're watching or not. And Fear and Loathing is an ether-huffing, lizard-hallucinating, living, breathing bundle of fun. It's a cult classic for a reason. Next is Leaving Las Vegas. When talking about the film in a fantastic interview with GQ, Nicolas Cage referred to this as the coolest relationship he'd seen. And that's the highlight of the film for sure. An alcoholic goes to Vegas with the express purpose to drink himself to death, and starts a relationship with a hard-nosed prostitute. What makes them so captivating is not just how unusual they are as a couple, but how open, accepting, and sweet they are to each other. Through them, the film shows how people who have given up on life can find purpose in bringing happiness to others, even if they know it's futile in the long run. Both characters seem to know there won't be a happy ending, and as a viewer you know it too, yet they still persist, and you still root for them. Themes aside, both Cage and Shu are excellent, and the film realistically portrays both the highs and lows of heavy drinking. It's a rough movie, the kind most don't rewatch, but if you like your films genuinely brutal and brutally genuine, this is for you. Number 4 is Climax. All you need to know about the story is that it's about a group of hired dancers rehearsing in an abandoned school in a snowstorm, and someone spikes the sangria with LSD. The long takes in this movie are fucking insane. There's so much creativity and coordination with these shots, and the longer they went on, the more my jaws sank to the floor. There was a point in the second half when I thought, hold on, is this still the same shot? Dancing, dialogue, violence, seduction. I looked it up afterwards and yep, there's a shot lasting 42 minutes. Everything about this film is frenzied. The pulsating house music, the performances, and the dancing, which is almost violent in its energy. One of the selling points for me is the fact that we never see what the characters are hallucinating. But damn, do we feel it. Climax also uses various visual tricks to rattle your senses. There's something very surreal about watching dancers from above. Critics love calling movies hypnotic, but here it's actually deserved. I could not tear my eyes from the screen. Trainspotting. Unlike the chaotic Spun, Trainspotting's elements all make sense together. The thumping music, the camera angles, the tight editing, it all feels aligned, but never constrained. It's still a freaky party film with absurd sequences. And what acts as the glue is the excellent narration by Ewan McGregor. The script has a certain quality that's hard for me to articulate, but the word apocalyptic jumps to mind. The characters all talk and act like the world's ending, and the narration in particular sounds like a demented last will and testament. What fun it is to watch a movie where a couch full of viewers will all have different favorite characters. Sick Boy being mine, by the way. It's such a memorable film, and it knows how to have fun without sacrificing its weirdness. Runner-up is A Scanner Darkly. I won't go into the plot, which, being based on the Philip K. Dick novel, is intentionally unwieldy. What makes the film work is how bizarre it is. Not just from the rotoscoped animation, but from the random but interesting side projects, subplots, and varied music. And yet, the film is also very funny. The character's paranoia reaches such delirious heights that it creates great scenes of comedy, like trying to sell a house full of drugs as a way to destroy evidence. But on top of all of that, A Scanner Darkly is such a sad movie. We witness the slow, unstoppable degradation of a man, both in mind and spirit, while an uncaring world brushes him aside. The ending and text scroll in particular are gut punches. Everyone does a great job in the film, and some of the dialogue rips through scenes with such energy, it's hard not to be entertained. This movie effectively combines psychedelia, comedy, a spattering of politics, and bleakness in one sitting. And that's something to applaud. And number 1 is, yeah, you probably guessed it by now, it's Requiem for a Dream, an emotional, beautifully acted, and exceptionally edited masterpiece. This film didn't just take my breath away, it tore it out. See, I enjoy films that are designed sensuously, that make you feel, taste, and otherwise experience everything intimately. And Requiem does that, but it's not pleasant. This is a visceral 2 hours. The aftermath feels like someone kicked you in the back of the knees, and the score is almost as brutal as the events. Ellen Burstyn gives a ferocious performance, the kitchen scene is heartbreaking, and that Oscar was well deserved.
And the Oscar goes to Julia Roberts.
God damn it. I like how the film, while displaying horrific repercussions of addiction, never scolds the characters for their choices. The editing is the star here, balancing flurries of quick cuts and fast forward with moments of reflection. And slowly the former becomes more frequent, and the latter almost vanishes until the plot culminates in total delirium that you are horrified to witness but can't look away. It offers all the emotion and technique a great film requires, and never forgets the drug itself, all the pleasure it promises, and everything it takes away. That is why Requiem for a Dream is the greatest drug movie ever made. So what are some of your favorite drug movies? Let me know in the comments. Follow me on Twitter for updates, and stay tuned for new content. Thanks for watching.